2017 has been another roller coaster of a year. Donald Trump took office as US president, and immediately things became heated with North Korea, with both sides threatening to unleash a nuclear war. In Europe, left and right-wing politics clashed in a number of fiercely contested elections, which threatened to destabilize the EU, while the persecution of the Muslim Rohingya in Myanmar reached textbook ethnic cleansing levels according to the UN, leading to a worsening of the already terrible refugee crisis. This year has also highlighted inequality in Western society, with scores of lower-income families dying in the Grenfell Tower fire in London, and revelations of abuses of power and sexual misconduct by celebrities. But how did the Middle East fare in 2017?
It is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
أننا نرفض هذا القرار الأمريكي الغاشم الظالم.
President Trump has done, he has shot dead the two-state solution.
14 votes in favor, 1 vote against.
This vote will be remembered.
We will not be intimidated.
We are entering the centenary year of the Balfour Declaration, and it is an anniversary we will be marking with pride.
We have a special responsibility to the Palestinian people.
الوالد وكمان 1700 أسير بلشوا إضراب مفتوح عن الطعام عشان يحسنوا ظروفهم المعيشية في السجن.
The two main Palestinian political groups, Fatah and Hamas, announced a reconciliation deal in Cairo.
There have been sporadic clashes around occupied East Jerusalem. At the root of this violence, a measure Israel insists was for security after a shooting attack last week.
The Israelis have removed all security measures.
Freedom from the measure taken unilaterally by an occupying force.
UNESCO declared Hebron as a Palestinian World Heritage Site in danger.
Questioning Israel over a corruption scandal. Major Hijini scandal that some say could be his undoing.
I ordered a targeted military strike on the airfield in Syria from where the chemical attack was launched.
The defeat of ISIS in Raqqa.
This was the ISIS capital. This was where their leaders were based.
We are talking to the UN envoy. This stubbornness in achieving anything would not be of any use.
A public invitation to the countries in the region to violate Iraqi borders.
Our goal is not dividing Iraq.
One source of tension is the disputed territory of Kirkuk.
انتصارنا اليوم هو انتصار على الظلام وانتصار على الوحشية والإرهاب.
Liberation does not mean the fight against terrorism or even against ISIS in Iraq is over.
An intelligence approach is very much suited to this kind of warfare, but in order for that to succeed, you have to have the people on board.
Hariri announced his resignation while visiting Saudi Arabia.
The well-being of Lebanon's prime minister and his freedom of movement have been open to question.
After meeting President Aoun, Hariri decided to suspend his resignation.
Jarud Arsal is a barren mountainous border zone between Lebanon and Syria that has served as Jabhat Fatah al-Sham's base for years.
First a suicide attack, then gunfire. Gunmen stormed the parliament building when it was in session.
Accession talks are frozen.
Turkey has responded they're not going to accept dictation or lectures on human rights.
Tensions between Turkey and the US have reached an all-time high. Both NATO allies have mutually suspended visa services for security reasons.
Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain have withdrawn their ambassadors from Qatar.
They then began a blockade of the country and issued a list of 13 demands.
They asked us to close the Turkish base.
Our sovereignty is a red line.
Country's aging King Salman issued a decree from June next year. Women can finally take to the roads.
This is a historic day for Saudi society.
Mohammed bin Nayef has been removed as crown prince, and Mohammed bin Salman is now first in line to the throne.
We have adopted a zero-tolerance policy on corruption.
11 princes and dozens of foreign ministers are among those reportedly detained.
That's a very, very effective way of getting rid of your rival.
This isn't the first time the Houthi rebels have tried to strike Saudi Arabia, but it is the closest they've got to a populated area in the country.
Yemen today is experiencing a tragedy of immense proportion. 2 years of conflict have devastated the lives of ordinary Yemenis.
Humanitarian access in Yemen is severely limited due to fighting.
Official confirmed Xinhua on Monday that former President Ali Abdullah
Saleh. 4 years after being sentenced to life in prison, Egypt's highest judicial authority cleared him of the charges, leaving him free to go.
Death toll is now upwards of 300 people, including many children, after an attack on a mosque.
One of the worst in that country's history.
Tunisian Prime Minister Youssef El-Shahed ordered the arrest of dozens of influential businessmen on charges of corruption.
The law gives amnesty to thousands of people who served in the government of former President Zine Al Abidine Ben Ali. The law has been the subject of months of demonstrations.
That standoff between rival administrations continues in Libya. On one side is Prime Minister Fayez al-Sarraj, who is the head of the Government of National Accord. On the other is the Libyan National Army, led by General Khalifa Haftar.
The Presidency Council of the Government of National Accord says its rebel forces are carrying out atrocities.
This political instability has allowed terrorism and illegal migration to flourish.
Human trafficking and smuggling have become a growing trade.
African migrants are being sold in slave markets.
Unrest has continued in the port town of Al Hoceima in the Northern Reef region. It began last year with the death of a fish seller.
La colonisation fait partie de l'histoire française. C'est un crime. C'est un crime contre l'humanité, c'est une vraie barbarie.
Now, nationalists like Marine Le Pen said his remarks were tantamount to treason.
Algeria has been criticized for forced deportations of migrants. Some officials call them a threat to the country's security.
More than 300 people are dead as Somalia's capital suffers its worst attack to date.
Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility.
The United States is suspending food and fuel aid to most of Somalia's armed forces due to concerns over corruption. African peacekeepers are starting to withdraw this month.
The U.S. State Department announced it was lifting 20-year-old economic and trade sanctions.
Sudan appoints a prime minister for the first time in years. Bakri Hassan Saleh is the first to occupy the post since it was scrapped in 1989 coup.